What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 32 of the Club Lorcana podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jeremy Bertarioni. With me, as always, and Syed.
Hello.
And we have very special guest, friend of the podcast, almost friend of us, Nathan Tripp. Nathan, say hi.
Hello.
And before we get started, guys, I know you guys are eager to talk about the exciting Set 7 cards that have been revealed since last week. I just wanted to get some housekeeping out of the way. First of all, I wanted to thank Joshua Paltry, the winner of the Atlanta DLC, for sending me a playmat. Look at this, very fancy, very nice playmat that he sent me. I think it's phenomenal. Good craftsmanship. One of those fancy cloth ones that could be a two-player mat, but you always got to fold it over. And we are so happy that he sent us one that we are actually going to give a different one away. So in order to participate in this giveaway, you can comment your favorite color combination under this video. And anything else you need to do, Zan?
No, just comment below and we'll randomly pick you.
And if we pick your name, we'll message you on YouTube. So look out for that. Message. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited we get to do a giveaway. Tell all your friends about this podcast. We're doing a giveaway.
Super nice playmat.
Shout out Metafy. Zan, you have a Metafy. Why don't you tell everybody about it?
Yeah, you should join my Metafy. Even if you do not subscribe to it, just join the Metafy. I'm going to be posting like tournament reports there and a bunch of free content as well. So go check out my Metafy. The link is in the description.
All right, moving on to our first topic, spoilers. Spoiler season for me was going to be it was a pretty peaceful spoiler season. I was excited about some of the multicolor cards. None of them looked that good. I was excited to brew maybe with the puppies and the yellow-red cards. But then what happened last night, Nathan?
Well, we got a beautiful new common.
Beautiful new common spoiled, sort of snuck it in. It was like the second to last card spoiled from the set. Belle, the apprentice inventor. Zan, read it off for me. What's Belle do?
You can banish an item to play it for free.
There's a 3/3 quest for 1 for 3 or free. You can banish an item to play it for free. And everyone's freaking out about this card. Maybe some people listening don't know why. Zan, you want to get into it? What's bothering people about this card?
I mean, there's a lot of things. It's a 3/3, which is like a very powerful stat line, especially from turns 1 through 4. After 1 through 4, then it becomes like kind of nothing. But SAPPHIRE has had a weakness in the early game, right? Can't deal with, big like characters that are questing really fast, like Daisy Duck, right? And so now you can play this Belle for a popsicle, and this card can sing a bunch of songs. If you play it in Steel, you can play it with Let the Storm Rage On and Strength. If you play it with Red, I mean, you just have something that's dealing with the early game. Like if you think about Amethyst, they used to play Madam M Snake, and I was like, oh wow, that's such a powerful effect. Yeah, you bounce your 1-drop back to your hand, but the 1-drop was diminishing returns anyways. So yeah.
This basically invalidates a lot of people's early games plans against blue, right?
Yeah, I feel like we've struggled in red, blue to, if they go too fast, like you can maybe stabilize, but now it's just like, okay, I'll sacrifice my card draw to set up a 3/3 that might go 1 for 1, might go 2 for 1. The nice thing about Popsicle is it replaces itself. And I think that this is gonna be like a turning point, and she is gonna probably warp the meta around her.
All right, and before this, I mean, like, it's interesting because we were gonna talk to you guys about the fancy new Mickey Mouse. They printed a 2-mana uninkable 1/1 Mickey Mouse that if it beats something in a challenge, then you get to play a character for free.
I actually still like this card.
I still like the card too, but I just feel like the top 5 decks of the meta now, based on these spoilers, are going to be blue-red, blue-green, blue-steel, blue-purple, and then blue-yellow. You know what I mean? It just seems so hard to not play blue in this format. Am I crazy? Am I losing my mind? Am I louder with Crowder?
Blue feels like it's like it's going to be what warps everything. I feel like Amethyst has been like really strong for a really long time with the bounce package. blue red has obviously been strong, but this shoring up like one of its weaknesses is gonna you're gonna see a lot of blue decks.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a ton of blue decks. I think the way that we should think about this, I think it's a positive thing because it's not like we're getting like a Bucky Diablo situation. Diablo is one of those cards that's going to draw you so many more cards that it's going to make the game like just bad. It's just going to make the game like terrible, right? Whereas Belle is going to help you deal with the early game, but it doesn't. If someone does it, it doesn't necessarily mean that they win the game. It's like you have to do 1,000 other things in order to still win the game. So I think that the thing is, the better you play, the more the Belle favors you because you understand when the Belle is important to have. It's not like blindly you want it on turn 1 every single time and deal with the whole situation. Yeah, it's going to make the deck choices narrower, but I think that players are still going to get rewarded for playing it correctly. And yeah, I mean, it's super format warping. It's super format warping. Like basically every single time I build a deck now, I have to think about what if this 3/3 comes into play and just wrecks all my stuff early game, which is the way I used to punish blue red before. Yeah, just
I'm also a little disappointed because they really were like, in this set, you're going to have illusions. Illusions are amazingly statted characters that vanish when you target them by an action. And then they were like, here they are, all 2 of them. Have fun, guys. And it was only Raja, the 2-mana 3/3, and the new Cobra. I mean, I thought we'd get a lot more illusion cards.
It's set up.
For Jafar.
Yeah, for the next set. I think we're going to get more like pushed in the following set.
I think we should have a 1-mana 3/3 illusion at this point. I mean, if they get to have Belle, give me the beater. Vanish, you know? So Belle sort of calls into the question, what other colors can use it best? So Blurple kind of came out of the woodwork with a little advantage because now you can shift Belle, Apprentice Inventor, into Belle, the Accomplished Mystic. This lets you win the Belle Mirror. Zan, are we in Belle's world?
I mean, that seems great against other steel decks, but pretty bad against everything else.
Talk to me about cards that like ways to beat blue now. So one thing that a lot of people are mentioning is Daisy Duck quests really well into Belle because if they hit it with the Belle, then you get to Rapunzel. Outside of that, do you think Amber decks have a chance against these against the blue menace, the blue blur, Sonic the Hedgehog?
Well, Diggy Diggy Hole had a great matchup. Like not a great matchup, but favorable, especially if it was on the play, right? But if it's not on the play, I would still give it to most versions of blue red. So now the way we want to think about this is I used to play Felicia to try to deal with the early game. Now I can just play a 3/3 that can also quest, can also sing, and just deal with the early game as like a more of a normal threat. Rather than having to play this bad card that's bad against Let the Storm Rage On and some can create bad situations. So basically what I'm thinking about is, yeah, like I think that the advantage that these Daisy Duck decks had or Diggy Diggy Hole decks had has diminished a lot. Especially, I would say like the problem with Ember Steel is that it needed like a top end. So a card that I was super interested in, and I was like, oh my god, this card makes Diggy Diggy Holes 1,000 times better, was Glass Slipper. But the part that I didn't read about Glass Slipper was that you have to exert a prince. So basically what it says is you can only have 2 copies because there's like someone will only have
thematic.
2 glass.
Yeah,
exactly. You play the Glass Slipper and then you can sacrifice it, banish it to go find a princess character and put it in your hand. I thought all you needed to do was exert it, but you actually have to exert a prince and exert it to banish it and find a princess. That one line of text is thematically great, but has made that card much more difficult to play and definitely not worth my time anymore. And the card that I would get was the 2/4. Is that Cinderella?
I think so. The one that cares about the glass slipper.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Cinderella.
That's Cinderella, obviously, thematically. So Go gets Cinderella, which is a 4-drop, which says if glass slipper is in your discard, then you can put it on the bottom of your deck to gain 3 lore. And that was an effect that I think Diggy Diggy Hole needed to close out a lot of different games. But now that you need a prince involved, it like forces you to maybe play like Simba or something like that, and if Simba's not questing and it's being exerted to do this whole other thing, it just doesn't work. It's just too much.
Too many hoops.
Yeah. Too many hoops going on. And so Amber Steel didn't fill in that hole it needed at the beginning of the curve. Whereas Blue Red or Blue decks in general had a question mark on their early game. Even when you look at Blue Steel, they were like forced to play Captain Hook sometimes. And you're like, Captain Hook? What the Captain Hook? What is that?
What the heck?
Tax for 3.
What the hell?
What is this?
Nathan, you were really excited coming into today about the prospects of playing a blue-green deck. Talk to us about the blue-green spoilers of recently. Particularly, I want you to emphasize Hiro Hamada, the set championship promo.
Yes, Hero's got a beautiful both set championship and normal enchanted. People kind of find that controversial on doubling up, but I think that you can have some cool bling in your deck if you end up playing him. He is a Floodborn, and he, I think, quests for 3, and specifically, he gives all your Floodborns that shift on top of characters ward and evasive.
That is correct. I got it pulled up right now. This is a 4/6 for 7, but it has shift 5. And then all of your Floodborn characters, including himself, that have a card under it, have ward and evasive. What is attractive to you? Because I showed this to Zan, and I was excited. And then Zan said, what are the most Floodborn characters you ever had at once? And I went, 2. He was like, 2's pretty high. And I was like, yeah. And he meant, of course, with a card under it. So I got pretty swiftly discouraged off of this card. Why do you think it has potential?
Well, let's think towards what is the most is probably 2, is probably the highest density, and we would see that in green steel. You're really playing around the shift mechanic with like Diablo and Beast or some of the other ones. It would be interesting to see if we could do a very similar game plan in blue, green, and ramp. The problem being is your characters have to stick around. I really feel like he's more an enabler to finish out the game with your Floodborn characters. So he himself, you can kind of enable that shift line. So let's just say that he automatically has ward and evasive, because we're going to play around that. That's how we play him. And then you have the Baymax. Baymax gives it to all of your characters.
Right.
So that's the strongest way to me to hit that 2 threshold. It's basically Hero gives the ability, and Baymax gives any of your characters evasive and ward. I don't know. Does he quest for 2 or 3? I can't remember.
My problem with this is that like the boogeymen of the format right now, like going into day 1 of set 7, is Maui the Shark. And so when you give your guys ward and evasive, there's a part of it's like, who cares? It still gets hit by the baby shark. You know what I mean?
They can't play Maui Shark.
Why not?
Because they're going to be at 3 ink.
Why are they at 3 ink?
Because I'm going to play Ink Geyser.
Yeah, and this is interesting. You know, do you think that your deck goes for like things like Sapphire Coil or Ice Block to try to use the muses to bounce everything back to their hand, and then maybe Under the Sea to put everything back on the bottom of their deck along with Ink Geyser? Or are you shifting more in item direction so you can take advantage of Belle and some of the really busted item cards like Tamatoa and Scrooge McDuck in this set? Keeping in mind that if you do go that direction, you get to play things like Hidden Inkcaster, which really helps out with your uninkable count, stuff like that. Which of those 2 directions are you most looking forward to taking the deck right now?
Right now, we were doing some deck building before this, and I couldn't decide. I feel like both directions, you kind of really have to commit. Items takes up so much of your space in your deck versus previously actions, muses, bounce. has kind of been the current form. I think that this deck is going to take a lot of iterations to figure out like what's good, and then it'll also be meta dependent.
Yeah. So okay. So in just fast forwarding a little bit, in March we're planning on going on a tour of tournaments, right? Every single weekend going to a tournament, right? So is it worth playing a green blue deck in all of these tournaments to try and figure it out, or is it not, right? Like, I mean, we're gonna
Probably not.
I mean, that's part of the cost of trying to figure it out. You're like traveling to these tournaments, so you either have to figure it out in between by playing Lorcanito and figure out a build, and then also trust that Lorcanito provided you good testing,
which isn't always the case, depending on like meta on Lorcanito versus like actual in person could be very different.
Especially at the beginning of a format. That's when it is the wildest.
Wild West.
Exactly. So you're not getting exactly good data because everybody's trying everything new. So let's say you just strung together 20 matches in a row against not real decks, then you end up in a really good spot. And by the time you arrive at the tournament, you know, someone put out a guide for, you know, Kendall's new purple red deck, you know, and you're like,
he doesn't play purple red anymore. He's on purple steel.
Yeah, he's on purple steel, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's kind of, we're just kind of in an awkward spot, you know? And so, yeah, I think that there is a version of blue-green. I mean, what's going on right now is such powerful things have been printed, right? Like that it basically forces us to play it in every shell. And the shell that does it the best is the shell that wins. Right. And so if blue-green does it best, then it wins. But it has to incorporate the stuff that is so powerful that it doesn't even belong.
Ooh, we have a green shift Belle that can have evasive and ward and make you discard your whole hand if you challenge it.
And what about shift on 3, Belle into the 3/3 that if you challenge it, you have to discard your hand? I mean, that's, you know, we never had the little Belle. That was always the problem with that card.
There's no little Belle. You always
were like, there's not a little Belle, but now we have one.
I think it's a good game plan. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible game plan. It is a game plan that's like, you're trying to get to the end, right? And you're probably like, I guess what you would be doing in this situation. I mean, you could have always done this if you really wanted to. You know what I mean?
Because is it the 2 or 3 drop Belle?
It's a 5-drop Belle, and you would just use Morph.
Yeah, but Morph's not a 3/3.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like,
you always could have been playing the 3/3 for 3 that quest for 3 that they have to discard their hand to challenge.
Exactly. And so what that's saying is like, hey, I want to be aggressive with my blue-green, which I don't think. I think that you can do that, and what that would require is like you're playing Diablo on 1, you have shift Diablo, and then Morph on 2. You can Belle in this whole plan seems like the worst card I've ever heard of. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't go with this plan. Like what Belle and the item package is saying is like, play a mid-range game with me. You know what I mean? Play this mid-range game with me, and part of that mid-range game could be that I make you discard your entire hand. But like Ravensburger has made the decision for us what we should be playing, and it should be the item package. So level 9,000 what made the last blue-green deck during set champs very popular.
Number 1 deck on Dreamborn right now.
Yeah, and which makes a lot of sense. And I'm like, okay, this deck makes sense. I get why people are winning set champs with it. It hasn't been proven on the big stage, but again, I like the items that were printed, like the cards that revolve around items that were printed, now have shifted. Like if we were like, okay, we're going towards not items in blue-green, now we have to bring it back to items, and that's so difficult because items take such a huge slot, right? Like let's just say we are playing Popsicle and Inkcaster, just those. That's 8 slots, and Hyrule, that's 12.
It's 4th year deck.
Yeah, let's say now you're playing Belle.
That's 16.
And
let's
it's
say you're
over a
playing
fourth.
Hiram. And now let's say you're playing Hiram.
I thought we already had Hiram in.
Okay, but no, Hiram wasn't in the spell version before.
Oh, no, but 16 is Belle, Hiram, Inkcaster, Popsicle, and then you probably want to add some ice blocks, maybe the new Sapphire Coil, one of those, ice blockers.
People love Sapphire Coils. Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just saying, like a third of your deck is already there. We're not even including Tamatoa.
Which that 6-drop one is pretty good.
Exactly. Or, like we're not including those at all, and that's already a third of your deck. So now, let's say you're playing Muses, you start to realize Muses doesn't have a spot.
Because you don't have enough songs.
Exactly, because you sacrifice the item package. It's like, so now the decision was, do I want to play items or do I want to play like this all-in song version? You know what I mean? Or not all-in, but heavy song version. And when there's a tug of war, the one with the more powerful cards like wins, right? Like, because what Sapphire is saying right now is, I can play a Belle, which takes care of my turns 1, 2, 3. I can play a Hiram, which takes care of my mid game, and then I can play a Tamatoa, which takes care of my end game. So like basically everybody has a mono blue shell of 40 cards, and now we're thinking about those other 20 cards,
which are things like removal or bodies for board,
and whichever color offers you the best is the best version.
Zan, I'm talking about a lot of the decks that I've seen, and a lot of decks I've seen are blue, and a lot of them have this card, and I wanted to get your take on the card. This is Water Has Memory. It's a new action. Look at the top 4 cards of chosen player's deck, put one of them on top of their deck, and the rest on the bottom of their deck in any order.
I almost loved this card.
Wow.
Almost.
Why don't you love this card?
Okay, I think that it should, if it's uninkable, it should have allowed you to look at like your opponent's deck.
You can
look at your opponent's deck.
Yeah, but put as many as you want on top or bottom.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Big difference there.
Right now, you're just picking 1 out of the 4.
Yeah, so you basically set up a situation where they can, like, let's say you made them discard their whole hand. Then you played this card to follow up, and you look at the top 4, and you're like, oh, Tamatoa to the bottom. You can have, what do you call it?
Depot.
No, you
or like a song, a useless song or something.
Depot into Belle, which is bad late in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're happy about that. You know what I mean? Like you just set up their deck to be bad because you've dealt with what's going on right now. So I wanted to just have that effect in the game, and I don't think it's too powerful.
I just don't think this is worth a card almost all of the time. Like a card's got to pull its weight somehow. Think of cards like Visions, it replaces itself. Develop, it replaces itself. This one, you're down a card, so you have to have some sort of meaningful impact on the board. And if they have a bunch of characters, you're just not getting that card back ever, basically.
If the card did what I said, like, the deck that would be looking for it is like the most powerful deck in the format. Like your deck is so much better than everybody else's deck that you cannot risk them drawing this perfect card at the perfect moment. And that's when you play this card.
Let me ask you something. So Nathan was talking about green blue with me all week. Before you knew about Belle, what decks were you looking forward to playing at set 7 start, Zan?
I mean, Purple Steel was a great choice.
I was excited about Purple Steel.
And I still think Purple Steel is going to be one of the top decks, but I still think that you're just trying to be different if you're not playing blue.
Yeah.
You're just trying too hard to be different. And I can't, like, right now I just feel like, of course I want to play the games and see what happens, and maybe, things don't play out the way that I think that they're going to play out. But I feel like, the beginning of the format is going to be Sapphire, and Sapphire might lose a little bit, and people might be like, oh, it's not so bad. But then by the end of the format, I think it's going to be all Sapphire, and people are going to be like, oh, it was always all Sapphire.
Right.
So I just don't want any bandwagoners. You know what I mean? I don't want someone to be like, I told you Sapphire wasn't that great. I want them, like, they got to know from the get-go that Sapphire is going to be great.
Sapphire's the color.
Is gonna be the bee's knees. We just don't know which version of Sapphire.
Yeah, we don't. And
Could be Sapphire Amber.
Sapphire Amber, we had some great puppy cards. We had a card that said...
Are we ranking that at the bottom?
You know how Sapphire Amber would have been great?
Huh.
If the slipper...
yeah. Well, it's so bad that they went after puppies as a tribe because they had the really strong hero synergies from set 4, or maybe that was set 5, and I had a blast with those. I was really thinking that would be the hero aggro color and maybe really buff some support stuff. Instead, you have pretty interesting cards. You have the new Pongo, which at the beginning of your turn lets you look at your entire inkwell and play a puppy for free. Okay, that's pretty good. Kind of has to dry to do anything, which is what we're calling ready everything to do anything. So, some drawbacks there as well. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed from maybe one of my favorite color combinations, blue-yellow. Okay, didn't get a lot.
Blello.
I don't ever say blello. What do I say? I say amber sapphire.
That's weird.
I usually just say aggro. We got a great puppy shift card.
Hey, he's a hero.
Puppy.
Team Blello.
That's what I wanted to check. So Thunderbolt's a hero. Think about that.
Oh,
puppy
man,
heroes.
I'm thinking about it and I hate it. None of the other puppies are heroes.
Puppy shift 3.
The only puppy that you would think would be a hero is Bolt, and he's not a puppy. Bolt's a full-grown dog.
He's a grown dog. Don't be disrespectful.
Oh yeah, he's like puppy. What do you mean? I eat dog food, not puppy food. Okay, so I think that pretty much puts a bow on spoiler season. It was interesting. It was varied. I had a lot of fun this spoiler season. I feel like my life kind of came crashing down around my head when they told me yesterday, you actually have to play Sapphire. And you got to get used to Sapphire mirrors. So I was like, well,
the hilarious part about all of this was like, we're like, okay, how many spoilers are left? And we're like, oh, it's 7.
7.
Only 7.
We're like 7. How many rares are left? None.
Yeah, there was like 2.
Oh, I thought we were at none.
No, because we got the Daisy Duck at the end, the 8-mana one that says whenever you ink something, you can bounce.
All right. Well, I had a moment where I was like, there's no rares left.
Mm-hmm.
We're just...
It's over.
We got the whole set. Nothing can change it.
Right.
Then they printed a comment that's like...
Everyone is going to have to own 4 copies. That is going to be the most expensive common.
That's a good foil out of your pack.
Oh, yeah, very good.
I want that foil.
Yeah.
Foils.
Are you buying any of this set?
I'm going to do a case. I didn't do a case of the last one. I abstained, but this is honestly has me pretty excited.
Okay, I think that foil Belle should be like $100.
Foil Belle is $100.
$100 right now. It's a bounty.
Right? Like
bounty.
And that's what makes the case worth it. Because everybody's just like, I could get a foil Belle.
Yeah. I wonder what the odds of a common foil are like in a case, like just to get one.
Unfortunately, there's no way to know.
That's how it was for. Do you remember the card Gitaxian Probe?
I was gonna say. I was actually gonna say.
A pretty card.
Mental Misstep in that set was actually the big one at the pre-release because it had huge vintage applications. That was back when like vintage was something people still like thought about ever. And somebody opened a Mental Misstep foil at my pre-release and like held it up, and everybody cheered and had a real golden ticket moment in the local game store.
That's awesome.
Mental Misstep was the original one. Yeah, you're right.
Because Jit Probe people didn't even know.
Yeah.
Like really, I was collecting Jit Probes because I was like, I think this card's neat. But people were like, why pay 2 life just to make your deck smaller? Now they're like, why wouldn't you pay 2 life to make your deck smaller? It's so funny.
My God.
So yeah, it was Mental Misstep was the big one. All right, so that about puts a bow on spoiler season. I did want to address a viewer had a question for you, Zan, and we love questions on this podcast. So I wanted to ask this question to you, and it's actually pretty lucky that I get to ask you this question with Nathan right here.
Oh, wow.
So here's the question. Seeking some advice from people who are finishing the tops at DLCs. What do you eat in the days leading up to a big tournament, or what do you do to prep, or even the day of that keeps you going? I only play store championships, and I'm exhausted after 5 hours. I can't imagine doing it several days back to back. My brain would be pure jello. So, Zan, what do you eat during a tournament?
Nathan and I actually share this together. We only eat one thing. It's Belvita blueberry crackers.
So look it up. Delicious, easy to transport.
Yeah.
And
where do you get them?
And Belvita should sponsor us.
Yeah, we will take an official sponsorship. I'll eat them everywhere. I'll wear a shirt.
You can find them. The cheapest place I found them were actually at the dollar store.
Oh, wow. You
Yeah.
found the Belvita Crunchy blueberry cookies. So here's my Belvita Crunchy blueberry cookie story. I know that Nathan always has them at the tournament. He's usually pretty forthcoming about he wants you to eat them. So I'm sitting next to Nathan. This is in California. This is at Continentals. And he whips out a pack of crackers, and I'm like, yeah, sure, man. All right, whip it up. He opens it, and I notice there's a player across the table from us, and she is like staring at him. I mean, she's like looking at him too much. And I'm like, what's up? And she goes, it's just, those are my favorites. That's my favorite flavor.
Like,
and I was like, okay. And then I think Nathan was like, Nathan, didn't you say like, oh, do you want one?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God,
what am-
that's so nice of you.
What am I
And she,
supposed to
like,
say?
reaches across the table and grabs it. And you know,
then
me and Nathan are like, oh, okay. And she eats it, and I'm like kind of not satisfied. So I'm like, what other flavors have you had? And she's like, yeah, just well, anyway. And she like gets this.
any other flavor. But yes, they are absolutely great. Everyone will be your friend just to get them.
Yeah. I mean,
Don't eat greasy food.
yeah. I
Yeah,
don't know, dude.
Zan, what's funny to me is you're supposed to answer this with like drink water, stay away from greasy food, try to stay light, carb, blah, blah, blah. And instead you're like Belvita blueberry crackers.
They're healthy.
I mean, the other thing you can do is, you want something that won't give you the itis. If you don't know what the itis is, it's like when you have like too many carbs or something heavy and it just puts you right to sleep. So you definitely don't want to do that, right? Like basically the blood flow is going to go straight to your stomach, and you want to avoid that. You want it to continue to go to your brain. If you have the discipline and you can handle it, fasting is actually the best thing you can do. Fasting for by not eating food and drinking water. I think that across the board is the best thing you could be doing, because it puts you into like this, hunter-gatherer primal state,
Mhm.
and like you just get a level of alertness that you otherwise can't do it, but it's something that you have to work towards. And so Belvita, the thing I like about the Belvita blueberry
Crackers.
is that it's like satiable, like it fills you up without making you still continue to feel hungry. And so I like that. The other option I think you can go for some type of jerky. Like beef jerky is, I think, phenomenal and doesn't make you feel that way. It keeps you in that, primal state. And I mean, just drink water. Try not to drink anything but water. Everything else will just be terrible for you. Yeah.
Are you sure Warren Buffett drinks 5 Cokes a day? He says at this point he's more Coke than man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you think that it would be good to drink Coke all day at a tournament?
I don't think that Warren Buffett would do well in Lorcana.
Wow. Holy cow. But Zan, he's one of the richest guys in the world.
That could be confirmation bias, though.
I mean, I think I'm also like, being good at one thing doesn't mean that you're going to be good at other things. I forgot what that's called, where you believe that, like, let's say I'm good at Lorcana and I believe that I'm just cracked at Wingspan because I'm good at Lorcana. And that's just like, it doesn't.
Arrogant?
No.
Unironically, how I feel all the time.
No, but there's a thing. There's a saying. I can't remember the name of it right now. But basically, I don't think Warren Buffett would do well at this game by drinking 5 Cokes.
And another bit of advice, because I went from, if you remember,
No.
like, sure.
I'm like the new Hey Hey, dude. I got no thoughts.
We didn't even talk about the new Hey Hey.
New Hey Hey, it's 5 ink. It's inkable. It has shift 3, has resist 1. It's a 1/5
expanded
quest for
intelligence.
2. When you play it, you can ink your entire hand exerted, and I just think that's pretty neat.
Neat.
I like it.
You just say anything that comes off the top of my deck from now on, man, I'm playing it.
It's free.
No
And then the
thoughts.
next turn you sing A Whole New World because you're top decked.
Right, it's a 5. Well, so here's what you do. On 6, you do Water Has Memory. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. Top is going to be... top is A Whole New World.
He cracked it.
Then you play Hey Hey, ink the rest of your cards. I'm done. I'm not trying to play any of those. And then you got 7. You draw your next card. Oh, my God. a whole new world, but sung like a hey hey. So it's like, and then you draw 7, you have $1 million ink, you win.
It's pretty good.
Hello? Am I cracking blue steel here?
No.
Take out your bells, sleeve up your hey heys.
No
It's time for a whole
one
new
should
world.
ever play Hey Hey. Let it go.
Oh.
You want to play Let It Go in the hey hey deck?
No, just let it go.
Yeah. Okay, so the hey hey can sing Let It Go.
Nope.
Yes, it can.
Back to the user question.
The universe is telling me answer.
No. I said,
Crunchy
I said,
crackers.
you remember? Okay, so
Yeah.
so I started. You guys were already used to long tournaments, long days. This was my first exposure starting last March. I used to be so tired after we would go to do like a 5-round tournament, a 6-round tournament. I'd be like, man, that's a really long day. All I'll say is the more you do, the easier it gets as well. I think it takes practice. Like it's just like running and endurance. Like the more you do it, the easier it gets. The more I've done, now I'm not getting as tired. I think it takes like exercising those muscles consistently. Obviously, play testing for longer periods of time can help as well, but really being in person, sitting at the tables, playing in long events, the more you do, I think really helps.
I would love a 130 round event. And it's like, you can sleep if you want, but you're going to lose those rounds. You know what I mean? I think me and Sam would be in the top 2 in that event by like 20 points.
That is exactly what you told me last spring when I said I'm tired, and you're like, "Oh, this is easy."
Yeah, dog. I could do this all day. I feel like Captain America and Marvel movies. I could go all day.
So I'm gonna break it down. So basically, what's going on in this game, as opposed to even other card games, is people are like I've said this before, but I say it again. Decision fatigue is happening.
Mm.
So you need to minimize the amount of decisions that you're making, especially before the tournament, right? So if you can decide what clothes you're gonna be wearing, like what you're gonna be eating and drinking, all that pre-established, and then also just do everything the same way every single time. Every time you sit down, roll out your mat, take out your deck, out of your deck box, pick up your dice, take out your lore pad, whatever. Just make a routine of like doing things in a similar way so you don't feel extra burdened by it and feel like you're making extra decisions. And so if you can also determine where you're going to eat from that day, maybe you Uber Eats it in advance, etc., or like someone brings you the food. The less decisions you make outside of the game, the more decisions you'll be able to make in the game without feeling that fatigue. So yeah. The other thing is water is hugely important, and making sure like in hard decision moments that you give yourself the space to make the proper decision. What I mean by that is thinking about like your turn and the game during your opponent's turn. If every single time, the first time you start thinking about it is on your turn, like you've just let like 50% of the allotted time for you to think just go away. So you're going to feel more pressure and more anxiety to make the right decision in a smaller amount of time. And that's going to compound the longer the tournament is. So all of this stuff is like, you can strategically put yourself in the best position to make the best decision. And if you don't do that, then you're basically like giving up percentage points on your tournament before you started even playing.
All right. With that being said, let's go to. We have a crazy month coming up. March, seemingly out of nowhere, right? Because I didn't know about this before like a week or two ago. We have 4 or 5 tournament stops to hit up in March. So let's get started. On March 1st and 2nd at ETH Denver, I'm going to go play in Andre Strosky's new Showdown tournament for the brand new card game Showdown.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
That's just me.
Yeah.
That's me going on a crazy side quest. I got my work to pay for my trip to Denver because they're like a company that's interested in crypto. So like, you can represent us at ETH Denver. And I'm like, whatever. So I looked up what there is to do at ETH Denver, and they have free-to-play networking poker tournaments with prize payout. So I'm just going to go do that.
Nice.
That'd be awesome.
We're going back to Southside Gaming.
This is the next week, the release of Set 7 on the 7th and 8th of March. Southside Gaming is having a Win 10 case tournament.
10 cases,
10 case.
I'm going to be there this time.
And it's on the release day, right? Like the first day.
The first day.
So Friday it gets released. I think the tournament's Saturday.
Yep.
So
gotta get those cards.
So Friday's day 0. It is day 1. But Friday's day 1.
At least Belle's a common.
They said that they're gonna open a crap ton of product.
I think I know what you mean. They're going to open like some product.
They're going to open a lot. I mean, Southside Gaming, very impressive shop.
Yeah, it was super nice.
And I think that their stock was incredibly organized and they had plenty of it.
My question is, it's a Win 10 case tournament, okay? So I win the tournament. I flew there on a plane. How am I getting any of that home?
What do you mean? Suitcase.
Guess I'm having to add that carry-on for my Spirit flight.
Yeah, really. I'm about to say, I'm flying Spirit. I have a personal item in a big jacket.
Delta.
Oh, you guys. Okay, you guys have fun. I'll meet you day of. So here's what: if I win, you guys can get the stuff back for me in your bags. That's great.
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, I get basically 2 carry-on, not carry-ons, check-in bags free.
So we have 4 bags.
I got to figure out how to get with Zang. One time
he also has 2. Yeah. All of us we have 6 together.
One time, Nathan and I were riding with Zan on a plane. We're all in the same row, and the flight attendant stopped by and was like, I swear this happened. The flight attendant was like, "Which one of you 3 is Zan Syed?" And I was like, "Lady, that one." And then she was like, "All right, we really wanted to thank you for taking this plane flight." And then she like walked away, and I was sitting there. I turned beet red. I was just like, "How? You're beet red right now."
Yeah, I know.
I'll tell you the secret sauce. The secret sauce is my dad is a million miler.
Right, but how did she not know which one of the 3 of us was Zan's? It just blows my mind every time.
I mean, she was trying to stay safe.
Hey, better safe than sorry. You never know. Okay, so what's that's Southside.
You should have raised your hand.
I should have been like, I've been right here. I'm Zan Syed. Okay, so after Southside Gaming, which by the way, you guys should go to. Every single person listening to this podcast should go to all of these tournaments. Next tournament, what is it? I'm not going to this one, by the way. This next one.
Austin. It will be the Hunter Burton Memorial.
Oh, I might go. Hunter Burton Memorial, amazing tournament. They do it every year. It's usually a Magic the Gathering tournament, remembering one of our best fallen warriors, who lost his own life, and this is an amazing event they have every time. Charity proceeds go to a charity that is a Suicide Awareness Foundation. Phenomenal stuff. The Hunter Burton Memorial. They're doing Lorcana this time.
Yep, they did it last time too, and Lorcana Bro won it.
Oh, awesome!
Very cool.
Yeah, so I wanted to go back. I mean, we have quite a few friends in Lorcana Bros in Austin. Elliot is in Austin.
I want to go. First of all, I have a bunch of Elliot's cards that I got to get back to him. Second of all, Kill Tony. Kill Tony's in Austin.
Yeah.
Oh.
We could go to the comedy club. My brother goes to UT Austin.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things I can get done, and then the Illuminators are in Austin, and they want to record an episode or something. And I think so it's just like a bunch of
that's like all together.
Yeah, and obviously I want to go to the comedy club. That would be absolutely insane.
You should send just me to the Illuminators studio.
This is the representative.
I'm ready to do the podcast. They're like, where's Zan? I'm like, who's who? You know, who's Zan? So
you are Zan, according to
according to the airplanes, and also according to the lady who gave us our orders at Taco Bell, I am Zan. All right, so this is the 14th through the 15th. That's the weekend. So next weekend, what's going on?
The weekend after that is CCS.
Yes,
which is our local 8K, which will probably end up becoming a 11K. I want to say.
So he almost always raises it. The thing about this guy is he's a really honest guy. He pays on time. He doesn't want to overpromise. So to make sure that he can put the events on their 8Ks, but at almost all of them, they've gotten raised to a 10K. He puts one out every set. And this set's super popular, so I expect that he's going to make it at least a 10K, if not more. I'm losing it. I'm losing the thread,
If
guys.
you're in the Southeast, you should come by.
Even if you're not,
it's like
in the
staple.
Southeast.
If you're not in the Southeast, you should fly by.
It's worth flying to. Atlanta is one of the easiest. It's the busiest airport in the world. It's one of the easiest airports to fly into. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is CCS is a really cool concept that kind of started in LA. It was called Frankensons, and basically it's a bunch of vendors that meet on the weekend and have like a warehouse of like a bunch of vendors. And so like no matter what type of trading card thing that you're interested in, you can pretty much find it at this place. So it's a good place to sell your stuff and buy stuff, especially if it's rare. It's a good so CCS is definitely worth flying out to. It's actually the first time I ever played against Ed, who won NA Continentals. Me and him played in the finals of the 8K, which was the biggest Lorcana tournament at that time. And so, you know, I really think that supporting CCS is supporting the growth of Lorcana outside of just, you know, Disney and Ravensburger's tournaments, which I think is essential for the growth of this game in the future.
I love Charlie's, and this is going to be the first tournament that Brennan DeCandio, who got a job at Ravensburger, is not able to play. So the EV goes up because now the best Lorcana player, arguably, is no longer going to be participating.
And congratulations.
Yeah, congrats, Brennan. Yeah, I'm like super looking forward to like how you influence the game. I feel like I'm gonna like as soon as his stuff starts coming out, the sets that he's like been participating in, I'm gonna be like trying to guess which one is his stuff, because he has a distinct taste, and I think that like I've gotten to know him over the years, and I feel like it'd be fun to like try to guess what he worked on.
I bet he's gonna make a card that's it's five ink. You can ink it. It's a 4/5. If you have 4 different card types in your graveyard when you play it, you get 3 1/2 spider tokens, and you can pay 6 and a black to drain them for the amount of spiders that you have.
Incredible.
And he's gonna name it Belle.
Oops.
Belle Spider. Merlin has goats. Belle has a spider.
Seems fair.
That's a Brennan DeCandio card.
I mean, I feel like he's just gonna try to make Lantern better. What's cool about Lantern is
Right.
a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, what's cool about Lantern is Lantern's one that lets you look at the top card of both players' decks and then shuffle it.
No.
No.
Lantern is the card that you can exert this item to make a character cost 1 less this turn.
Nice.
And then you can banish it and play Belle.
Oh, nice. That is good. So
hey, we said Amber Sapphire.
On turn 2, you can play a Belle and a 1-drop. I mean,
on turn 3, you can play a Hiram
Hiram
and a Belle.
Hiram?
That's pretty good.
Well, hold on a minute.
No, you can't.
They're both fighting for the resource.
No, you can.
That Lantern.
Let me explain.
you said popsicle?
Popsicle.
Lantern, Hiram, Belle.
You could have just played the Belle turn 1.
No, you essentially just drew the Belle off the Hiram.
Oh, okay. That was lucky of you to do that. All right. So that is the CCS. I think that's probably the hottest ticket. That is also during my birthday. As a birthday present to me,
Happy
my
early
girlfriend's
birthday.
going to play in this tournament. So everybody get ready to freaking lose, because according to them watching me play Lorcanito, they're way better than me at this.
Yeah. And then there's one more.
That would be a awesome story, though.
She's always like, why wouldn't you quest there? And I'm like, shut up. You don't know how to play. And so now she's going to just win the tournament and be like, Jeremy, why don't you just do that?
Wins the 8K.
I mean, all of the people that are like in our Lorcana life that have just played one tournament won it. Pops.
That is true. Store champion.
Pops the store champ. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we got to tell that story right now. What happened? Pops was in an accident, so...
Okay, so there's a guy that is one of the Lost Boys, an affectionate name we have for our little group of Atlanta gamers. His name is Jeremy Edmondson. He owns a store, Mystic Falls Cardboard Company. But before he owned a store,
check it out.
He was driving with his dad. He brings his dad to almost every tournament. I think his dad just likes being a part of the vibe or whatever. I mean, he's a pretty old guy, you know, not quite frail. We're not at frail yet, but he is wiry. He's wiry old. So anyway, we get a text in the group chat. Guys, my car just rolled over. I got into an accident. Somebody hit our car on the side and Pops was in the passenger seat. We're all in the hospital right now. We're figuring it out. Oh my God. Hush goes over the crowd. We check it out. Anyway, the end of that story is that Pops is fine, Jeremy's fine, they have hurt necks, but they're going to be okay. Thank goodness. And they have a new car now. It's all great. And the rest of the story, I'm not there for because I wasn't at this tournament. But apparently there was a tournament. I think it was a set championships. And Zan, what happened?
I wasn't there either.
I was there.
Yeah. Nathan,
Tell the story, Nathan.
So we had 7 people.
Yep.
And you cannot legally fire the tournament without 8 people.
I don't know if legally is the right word, but sure.
Legally.
Legally. We're following rules, folks. We're rule followers.
Yeah, the LLs.
Yes.
Lorcana laws.
Yeah, exactly. We don't everything above board. Thank you, Goobo. So we had 7 people. We needed 1 more. People were texting people. Somebody didn't show up. So we're like, hey, Pops, you never played Lorcana before, but would you like play? And he's like, I don't know. And then he ends up playing. And then we build him an aggro. I have an aggro deck, and he plays hyper aggro. And he goes under every single person. And like we're teaching him and helping him and stuff, but he ended up winning the whole thing. And we were trying, me and Ryan tried to beat him, and I could not close it out.
Oh my God.
He's like, well, I don't know much about this game, but I'm just going to play Gathering Knowledge of Wisdom.
He's a Daisy, gather knowledge of wisdom. You're like, okay, well.
He's like, that puts me to 17. How much do I need to win again? And you're like, 20. He's like, oh, I'm pretty close. And you're like, yeah, I guess, I don't know. Amazing. Great job.
It was great.
Congrats to Pops for winning that tournament. And now it's going to be a future congrats to my girlfriend, Fiona, who's going to win the 10K.
8K, 11K. We don't know.
We don't know.
Could be anything. Yeah, I mean,
Fiona's got to get through me, dude.
Fiona can do it. You know what? People come up to you all the time and they're like, would you accept $5 million, but the person you hate most in the world gets double? I said, I'd snap that off, dude. That'd be great. Me and my girlfriend would have $15 million between the two of us. That's awesome. So she's going to be great. That joke sucks. I
don't know why that tickled me so much. We do have one more tournament.
One more tournament. Tell us about it.
It is a 5K and a 10K on the same weekend.
Yes, it's with my sponsor, World Class Cards, which is in Wisconsin. And yeah, as soon as I get the event link, I'll put it in the description below. But yeah, we're going to be flying out to Chicago, getting a car and driving down to World Class Cards. And that's going to be super exciting. There's a 10K on Saturday and a 5K on Sunday. So it's definitely worth flying out to, just because we don't have any like DLCs coming up.
Slow season.
The calendar is bare as far as Ravensburger official tournaments, but the community
booked
is
every weekend in March.
Booked every weekend in March, and kind of came out of nowhere. So that wraps up our stuff, and it about should wrap up our podcast. We are over time, so if there's anything anybody else has, congrats to Team Labyrinth for their new team, Team Maelstrom, that basically came like a baby out of their previous team. Their previous team had a baby, and it's the same team, and it's Maelstrom. So congrats to them on that, on their new baby. Let's wrap up this podcast. Nathan, where can they find you?
Nathan Tripp on Twitter, and that's it.
And you can find me on Twitter at MoxJeremy. You can find me on Blue Sky at moxjeremy.bluesky.social. And you can find Zam. Where can they find you?
You're already here. Thanks.
Wow. Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.